let's get into our Week 5 recap now. There's just so many good games on this slate. It's incredible that we got these first three on Friday night. This was probably the best Friday night slate I've seen in as long as I can remember. It was epic.
It,
All
it
these games came
delivered
down to the wire.
just so well. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it delivered for some bettors for sure. Virginia beats Florida State at home, comes back and beats them in overtime after blowing the lead that they had. They were up in this game by several scores and let FSU back into it. It looked like FSU was going to go down and win. And Deuce, is it Deuce Alexander? Is that his name?
Yes.
He dropped a wheel route that was an easy touchdown. Like, I was shocked that he dropped it. Like, I try to never say stuff like this because it makes me sound like completely ridiculous, but you put me on that field, probably 8 out of 10 times I'm catching that. I would probably say the same about you. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it hit him literally in the chest. He had both arms right around the football to cradle it, and he just finds a way to bobble it. Like, you're already in the end zone. There's no need to catch and run. Just secure the ball and fall down, and you score a touchdown. It wasn't even that hard of a throw. Like, I'm pretty sure Tommy Castellanos laid it in there. Like, he had to drive it, but it wasn't like he put 100% effort into the throw. Deuce drops it. They lose this football game. Chandler Morris wins the game and still throws 3 interceptions. So bad luck stat there. Like, he absolutely played his tail off in this game, but still threw 3 picks, and they won. So that tells you a lot about Virginia, the fact that they can turn the ball over 3 times against a really good team and still win.
He did have 5 touchdowns himself, though, to balance that out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, he played his tail off. I thought he played incredible. The 3 interceptions sucks because it makes him look like he didn't play near as good as he did, but he played like a dog in this game. Like, it was like watching a prime Haynes King game where he just dominates on the ground and through the air and carries his team. And I thought that's what Chandler Morris did. And Tommy Castellanos did that against Alabama, but he did not do that against Virginia. He played well down the stretch in this game and gave his team a chance. But I definitely felt like Chandler Morris was the better quarterback on the field.
I
So
just can't believe this is the same defense that shut down Bama.
yeah, again, that goes back to our overreactions and lessons from last fall. Like, you just can't overreact to week 1 games. And Florida State was way too high. We should have probably seen the fact that there were teams on their schedule in the ACC that were giant killers. Like, Virginia had a great offense. We talked about it last week. We did point out that this game was sketchy, but I think we were confident enough in FSU's defense to not give up this many points, but they did. So FSU comes back down to earth here. A little more realistic expectations after going 2-10 last year. I think it's really neat to me that the two teams last year that went 2-10, Mississippi State and Florida State, are both 4-1 right now.
Or
And
no,
in my
Florida State's
opinion,
only 3-1. They've already had a bye week.
no. Well, regardless, they only have one loss at this point in
Yeah.
the season, and they've won a big game. I like both those teams. I think Florida State and Mississippi State should both be ranked. I don't know why Mississippi State is not ranked, but regardless, they coaching on both these teams and recruiting has been really great to get them to where they're at. So I'm not sleeping on Florida State. I actually am higher on them than when I started the season. And even after this loss, I think it makes them come back down to earth because they were a little overrated. And I kind of felt like with how the narrative was around them that I needed to rank them higher. And then I was like, no, I know how I feel about this team, but maybe I just need more reason to feel the way I do. And this game just proved it. So let's move on. That was a great game, but
One
moving
more
on.
thing I'd like to add is when I made that post last week about overrated teams, the first team out was Florida State. I so heavily considered putting them in the overrated category, but I just didn't.
Yeah,
Definitely should have.
I think that it's really tough doing a podcast because there's so many narratives out there that kind of try to trap you and make you think that you should think a certain way about a team. And we talked about this before. We try to fight against the narratives and see through the bull crap because there's actual football being played and people just start creating narratives of stuff that they think is going to happen or should be the case. That doesn't matter. You're not a coach. You're not a player. You don't impact the games on the field. So you making a narrative just should not dictate how other people think about things. And that you could apply that to just podcasts in general, but people who actually watch football and are making takes as opposed to creating fake narratives, that's two different things. So whether you like podcasts or not, I don't think that we're spreading crazy narratives on our podcast. We're actually breaking down games. We're looking at the players on the field and the results, and then making judgment calls. That's a lot different. But I agree. I think that was a team in my mind that was probably a little too high. I just wasn't comfortable enough to move them down yet. So seeing what I've seen from Alabama, it still confuses me a little bit because I think Alabama's still a good football team, like I've been saying. So quality win, not so great loss, but you can't win them all. With the stage of college football that we're in, you can't win every game. TCU at Arizona State. We nailed this one too. Had this game by a field goal leaning to Arizona State. Guess what happened? Arizona State wins by a field goal in comeback fashion. At home against TCU, Josh Hoover does not have his best outing here, throwing a couple interceptions. I don't think he had any touchdowns through the air. They played okay. They had the lead. Arizona State just fought back in this game.
They
Jordan
had the
Tyson looked back.
17 to nothing start just like State did, except Arizona State was able to win it this time.
I think that's a huge testament to Kenny Dillingham and his coaching staff that they've been there before. This time they were at home and they had an answer. And actually, I felt like they threw the ball in this game. I thought Sam Levitt played really well running the ball on the ground and improvising, but man, Jordan Tyson came up with a clutch touchdown this game. He played incredibly well. One of his best games of the season against a TCU defense that's solid. Um, I I like TCU a lot. I like Arizona State a lot. I think a lot of people felt like TCU was probably the better team here. They could be, but Arizona State was the better team Friday night, and they pulled out this win in comeback fashion. I was impressed from both teams. I know it was not a great outing from Josh Hoover, but that just shows you Arizona State's defense is solid. They're a well-rounded team, like we talked about, and I think they're still a contender in the Big 12. I picked them to win the Big 12. I think they're at least going to have a shot to make it. I'm not confident enough to say right now that they're going to win it still, but I think they'll be in the conversation in November. But yeah, great game there. I mean, 2 for 2 on incredible games on Friday night.
One thing that stuck out to me in the end of this game is Arizona State actually outgained them 490 to 270.
Wow. So I guess even though they were down at some point, this game probably shouldn't have been as close as it was. You kind of saw that stat with Ole Miss and LSU, but Ole Miss had a lead after the first quarter for pretty much the whole game.
Well, they had to stretch in like the third and fourth quarters, or even one time it happened in the second quarter. I think they got in the red zone and threw an interception or something, but it was in the third and fourth quarters that would get into TCU territory and then just it would stall out. I think they missed two field goals,
Ugh.
had like two or three turnover on downs. Like if their offense would have been humming good, I mean they could have ended up putting up 40 something and running away with this game, but they were lucky to even win it with how they were getting down there and screwing around for a lot of this game.
Yeah, red zone offense is a huge stat. I remember Ole Miss offenses that had some of the best players that we put in the NFL offensively, like at wide receiver, and we just couldn't score in the red zone because we couldn't run the ball. And I'm not saying Arizona State can't run the ball,
They did run the ball. They ran it for 215 yards. I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but they just
but if your play
couldn't do it
calling's
for a
off,
while.
or you don't have the right players in the right positions in the red zone to make those plays, you have to have stuff drawn up for that. When you get down there, you got to come up with touchdowns if you want to win big games. But in the end, Arizona State ended up being the team on top. I think it was 27-24, right?
Yes.
So they walk off a field goal, or was it? Did I think they just scored a field goal on their last drive and closed the game out? Maybe.
They kicked a field goal to take the lead and then got an interception.
So game clinching interception on Josh Hoover. Yeah, that's impressive defense. I mean, TCU had an incredible outing last week against was it SMU last week?
SMU, yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely torched them. So coming into this game, I think Arizona State probably was very aware of that and game planned accordingly. So I like what I saw from them. Moving forward, the Big 12 has a lot of uncertainty, but one thing's for sure, Texas Tech looks like one of the best teams. So we'll get to them a little bit later. Ohio State at Washington. Biggest takeaway from this game is Ohio State's defense is so for real.
It's so great. Matt Patricia's done a fantastic job.
That was evident from the first game. I think people were just concerned about the offense, but Texas' defense is really good. So can't really take away credit from them there. First quarterback start for Julian Sayin against a great team. So that's why they had probably the output that they did there. They didn't play incredible offense against Washington, but it was good enough to win the game. They didn't really turn the ball over. I thought they ran the ball okay. Bo Jackson's emerging as one of the leading backs for this team. Despite C.J. Donaldson coming in the transfer portal, they've found a guy in Bo Jackson, which is funny that that's his name, to be probably the starting running back at Ohio State as a freshman. So that's a great pickup for them in the recruiting class. I really like Ohio State. I have them at number one. I had them at number one since week one. I don't see them moving for a while. I really don't. I feel like Washington was probably one of the biggest tests they were going to have until Michigan. So, I mean, Penn State's great and all, but they're not that great. I mean, if they can't get anything going on offense against Ohio State, they're cooked. They're definitely cooked.
They might be cooked against Indiana.
Absolutely. That game's going to be very interesting. and we're about to get to Penn State here in a second, but I don't want to take anything away from Washington. I thought Damon Williams, despite the fact that they couldn't score, I mean, he protected the ball decently well in this game. They just could not score in the red zone. And if they did, this game would have looked a lot different. People would have been saying a lot different things about Washington. This team absolutely can go win 9 or 10 games this year. I don't know that their defense is incredible or not, but they're definitely good enough at home to win big games. I really like Washington. I think Jonah Coleman's really good running back, and they have so much skill on offense. If they can hold up on the offensive line, continue to play consistently, and not turn the ball over, they've got playmakers everywhere. So I like Washington. Saw some decent things, but you got to score in the red zone when you get there against good teams. That's just it. Can't kick field goals every time if you want to be Ohio State. Moving on, unless you got anything about Washington or Ohio State, you want to share.
It really didn't change my perception of either team. I was a little bit surprised at Washington not scoring much, only getting 2 field goals, but Ohio State's defense is just so elite.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same ballpark there. I figured there'd be more points in this game, but good defense from Ohio State changed that. So, really interesting outcome there. This one was probably one of my favorite outcomes. Oregon at Penn State in the whiteout. Dante Morgan's a huge signature win. Dan Lanning also getting a signature win here. I mean, I saw everything I needed to see from Oregon. I know that they choked the lead that they had. I thought they were sitting comfortable in this game going into the fourth quarter. Penn State claws back in with a last second offensive exertion that I didn't think they had. I'm going to be frank. They had 3 points going into the fourth
At
quarter,
100 yards.
and then they just decided, oh, wait, oh, we need touchdowns to win the
Oh
game?
wait, this is our biggest game of the year so far. Whiteout. We get to score some points now.
Yeah, and so they draw up some good plays to Devontae Ross to get in the ball, and he scored 2 touchdowns to tie the game up. Goes to overtime, double overtime, game sealing interception from Oregon, impact transfer safety from Purdue makes the game clinching interception. I think that's really cool. Guys stepping up from a lower program to a big time Big Ten, huge matchup, top 10 matchup, wide out at Penn State making the game sealing play. I think that's awesome that he gets to move up on a talent level based off of how he's been playing and play at a team like Oregon and make such an impact. So that's a really cool story. But I think the biggest storyline from this game is that Oregon's a really, really well rounded football team. Offensively and defensively, they've got so much that makes them probably have an argument to be number one right now. I just am having a hard time moving down Ohio State, but they look incredible. But Penn State, man, I mean, offensively is just it's awful. I don't know how on earth Drew Aller has regressed since last year, but he has. He is definitely regressed. The way he's throwing off his back foot, he's not driving the football. He's not accurate. When he gets under pressure, he makes terrible reads. In big situations when the game is on the line, he is throwing it to the other team. You just can't do that. When you're on a team with as much talent and cohesiveness and time spent coached, I mean, you can't be doing stuff like this. You cannot be in high pressure situations as a 3 year starting quarterback on a team that has been together for this long and coached together this long and throw the game away on an interception every single time. Like they did against Notre Dame. They did it against Oregon last year in the Big Ten championship. They did it again this year. When they get to the big game, he's just not winning it for him. And I know he gave him a chance in the fourth quarter making that touchdown throw to Ross, but Ross was the receiver who got open there. You're supposed to make that throw. That was a obvious touchdown throw design. Like they're like, hey, we have to score. Get Ross open. They pull that out their butts and he scores. Yeah, he made the throw. Great. That's the only throw he made the whole game. So gotta give credit to Oregon's defense. They played incredible, but Penn State's offense is just so mediocre. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen cannot be your whole offense. And they can only make such an impact on the game when you can't throw the ball. There's just no creativity on offense. They're not getting guys open. Like, perfect example. Ole Miss is an offense that will find matchups, and despite the fact that they may not have DK Metcalf or AJ Brown or Trey Harris on their roster this year, they are finding matchups they like and getting their receivers the ball. Penn State's not doing that.
They're playing and calling it like they can just line up and beat you just with having more talent, and that's just not how the game works anymore.
Yeah,
It's
and
just an archaic style. It's just the game is way past that.
And you're trying to do that against everybody, and it's showing. But when you play against Oregon, you're not more talented than them.
when you play that way, you can beat the teams that you're supposed to beat and more talented than. But when you play ones that you're equal to or less talented than, you don't have a chance.
I think
And
that
that's
says
exactly how it's been since James Franklin went to Penn State.
I think that says just about everything that you need to hear about this team. I really do think that they, when they line up against other teams, they think that they're more talented every time and they should win. There's got to be a culture shift with the process in this program if they want to win big games. And I truly think that they have put so much stock into their holistic team and how skilled they are and how much time they've spent collectively together practicing. They think they should be able to beat anybody just because of that. And you should think that you can win every game you walk onto the field and play an opposing team in. But there's got to be reasons why you go out and win. Penn State just thinks they can run the ball and run power and run stretch and play action and win every game. It's not going to win you football games in 2025. It's just not. So, especially with the quarterback player game from Drew Aller, even if they could scheme open guys to get receivers open and Drew Aller actually make throws, I don't think he's making a lot of them. So, until he gets his mechanics down and they can start scheming up better plays to get the receivers open, I don't see anything changing. So, Oregon, a big winner here. This is a really tough environment for a quarterback. This is his first season at Oregon, really being the starting quarterback anywhere. I mean, coming out party for Dante Moore. He's the leading Heisman candidate right now. I think that there's a real chance that he could win it. If not, I definitely see him being in New York at the end of the year. Big time play from him. He's looking really good. This is about how I expected him to play in this game. So I'm impressed. I think Oregon's going to do some big things this year. They look better and better every week I see them play. Moving on, probably in my opinion, I think this game mattered the most to me out of all of these. I felt like Oregon was going to beat Penn State, but I truly did not know what Alabama and Georgia was going to look like. Just because of Georgia's home winning streak, I felt like they were going to be able to break the Bama curse. So I picked Georgia in a close game. I felt like it was going to be competitive regardless, but I didn't see Alabama scheming open the plays that they had and actually being consistent on offense against the Georgia defense. I just didn't see that happening. And Alabama had their way with Georgia's defense for the first quarter and a half. And pretty much the first half in general, they really did what they wanted to do offensively. They looked like the better team. They got out to the early lead, and they ended up beating Georgia by a field goal. The difference maker in this game was drops. Alabama has a touchdown get dropped by Ryan Williams. They win this game by 10 points, and we're having probably a little bit different of a discussion about a more emphatic road win. Georgia has a touchdown dropped in the fourth quarter. Gunnar Stockton lays it out to number 11. I forget who this player was, but probably good that I'm not putting him on blast because this is a bad drop. Drops a wide open cover beater down the middle, and Georgia would have taken the lead. Absolutely could have won the game on that, but they didn't. So, got to talk about the winner. Alabama played great. I think Kalen DeBoer coached this game incredibly well. This is a huge bounce back for this team. They've got so much down the road that they've got to stay locked in for. This game was a huge hurdle to get over. You win this game, everything's out in front of you, but every week's still a test in the SEC. I think this defines Alabama just a little bit more. Now that they got Jam Miller back, the run game looks a little better. It's still not great. They're going to have to be able to run the ball against Vanderbilt next week if they really want to be emphatically in control of that game. Big injury, though, for Alabama. Quay Russaw is out for the season for Alabama. Most likely out for the season at this point. I think he had a foot injury, so that's not good. A top edge rusher for Alabama. They really need him. But I still like Georgia. I still think they have good things to offer offensively, but they were slow in this game. You just got to come away with more points if you want to beat Alabama. 21 points isn't going to cut it. So I thought this game was really, really close on both sides. I don't necessarily feel worse about Georgia, but two really close games against Tennessee and Alabama coming out 1-1 in those games. We're just got to see them down the stretch in SEC play to make more conclusions about them. But Alabama still legit. You can't count them out after that week one loss against FSU.
And they just still own Georgia. And it's just every time they play, besides that one day, just Bama finds a way.
Yeah, and that's how the Ohio State Michigan game's been. I mean, when it feels like Michigan's the worst team and Ohio State's clearly the favorite, Michigan ends up winning the game, whether it's at Ohio State or whether it's in Ann Arbor. They found a way to win. And Alabama's finding a way to beat Georgia right now. Kirby Smart has to be feeling that weight that despite the fact that he's got probably the best program in college football in the Georgia Bulldogs, he can't put his foot down and beat Alabama when he needs to. So I think there's a real chance we see them match up again in the SEC championship, but that would require these teams most likely winning out or only dropping one game apiece and everybody else starting to cannibalize each other. Both of those things very likely could happen, but I would love to see a rematch in this game. I think I would still favor Georgia slightly if they played again, but
I would take Bama. I just have to take Bama.
either way, I think it would be really close. These teams are very even in my eyes. It was a great game. Alabama, definitely, you got to be a little higher on them after this win. I think it says more about Alabama than Georgia. A lot of people have been throwing Alabama in the dumpster after week one. You just can't do that. Lessons from last fall would tell you that that would not be a good decision to make, throwing Alabama in the trash. We have seen a resurrection from them offensively via Ty Simpson. No turnovers through 5 weeks. That's really impressive. So I think there's a lot to say about Ty Simpson. We're going to be talking about him a lot towards the end of the season. I bet if he keeps playing like this, he'll be in the Heisman conversation legitimately, like top three. Right now, I don't think he is, but give it 2 more weeks of this kind of football from him, he'll be up there. So big game there. Alabama comes down on top. Auburn at Texas A&M. I don't think there's really much to be said here other than Auburn's offense was horrible. It was not good. They abandoned the run. They tried to win this game throwing the ball.
Sub 200 yards for Auburn
I mean,
against an A&M defense that has been torched a couple times this year.
I just can't believe they thought they were going to go into this game and win passing the ball when Jackson Arnold is averaging like 130 yards passing a game. That's like below Nick Fitzgerald numbers. Like that's bad. Like I know he's good running the ball, but he got boxed in this game.
I don't know what Hugh Freeze is on.
I don't know either. 10 points is just not going to cut it in the SEC. The fact that they were able to hold A&M to 16, despite the fact that A&M significantly outgained them, I mean, it says a lot about their defense, but I'm still not sold on their defense. I'm
Wasn't
not.
Auburn's one touchdown off a turnover too?
I think it was.
It was like from 2 yards out or something. They just ran it in. I think that was like
They were
literally
really close to scoring after they got the turnover. So I mean, A&M had their way with Auburn's offense in this game. Pass rush was too much. The sacks were a problem again with Jackson Arnold. They can't protect him. I need to watch something back here. We talked about Auburn last week, and I really, really talked badly about Auburn's offensive line play because it was not good. But a large part of this issue is Jackson Arnold. He holds the ball for forever and expects to have his first read open
we talked
every
about this
time.
kind of stuff in training camp. Hugh
Yep.
Freeze telling the D line to take it easier on him. Like this is the stuff showing up.
Yep.
16 sacks in 2 weeks.
And we let the overreaction in week one to their win against Baylor kind of derail that conversation a little
Dave
bit.
Aranda just called the worst defensive game of the season.
So bad.
Absolutely.
And we know that Baylor's defensive line is not good. Their secondary is not good. Their defense as a whole is not very good. So that game just that's kind of a wash from perspective if you're looking at Auburn's offense. Jackson Arnold has to be better processing these plays. You have to be looking for your second and third read and not be sitting in the pocket for 4 seconds. You just can't do it. And I think he gets through his first read and maybe his second or his check down, and then he's like, oh, should I run? Yeah, I'm probably going to run. I'm going to run. And then he runs, and it's been 5 seconds, and he's getting sacked. So I'm just not confident in Auburn's offense to really get anything done for the rest of the season. I don't know how many games they're going to win. They've got a good nucleus on defense to be good. I'm so confused how they're not able to project some sort of offensive output with the guys they have on offense. Their running backs are good, but they abandoned the run game. Their receivers are incredible, but they can't get them the ball. So until you can solve that problem, I think it starts with Hugh Freeze and the quarterback. Um, they're not going to get any better offensively. So takeaway for A&M, they were the winner here. I mean, despite the fact that they didn't have a good offensive outing, they showed that they can win in multiple ways. I think that that's going to be something to look at here when we talk about the state game. Is that A&M has showed they can win in a shootout on the road. They've showed that they can win at home in a slug out. They've showed that they can take care of business against teams that are not as good as them, but still show to be potent offensively. I mean, UTSA has probably one of the best running backs in the country, and he ran all over A&M, but they still closed out the game the way they should have. So a lot to like about A&M, but I would have loved to have seen more points in this game. Auburn's defense is good, so credit where credit's due.
I think it's crazy that Auburn's played one-score games with Oklahoma and A&M back-to-back weeks on the road with how terrible their offense has been. Like it's a miracle that those games were competitive.
Yeah, I mean, as an Auburn fan, would be so frustrated that they can't get anything going offensively because
If they had a pulse on offense, they could be 5-0 right now.
exactly that's what I was about to say. It's like they if they had the quarterback situation figured out and they had a pulse there, they one more touchdown or the penalty against Oklahoma comes back or should have been called thereof, and the play comes back. They could win that game, and they absolutely could beat A&M. So you're looking at a completely different Auburn team if they pull those games out on the road. They're probably what top 8.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be top 5 with those wins.
Yeah, and they're about to be unranked in every single poll and probably not anywhere close to the top 25. So Hugh Freeze just has to get that position figured out. They've got 2 other quarterbacks. At this point, I think you got to start exploring some other options. If you cannot throw the ball in the SEC, you will not win games. Period. I think that's enough said. Moving on, Georgia Tech at Wake Forest. I'm really concerned about this outcome for Georgia Tech. I know they won this game, but I really don't think they should have. I think that call, the missed offsides call that cost Wake Forest a possible third down conversion that would have sealed the game.
Well, no, it was only like 3rd and 4, so they would have got a first down and then kneeled it out and it would have been over.
Yeah, so for one, they went for the throw and they tried to score a touchdown to end the game. And because they thought they had an offsides, they just threw it up. And nothing happened. The ball was incomplete. So no big deal, right? But there was no flag. The offsides penalty didn't even get called. It was clear offsides on Georgia Tech. They didn't call it. And pass goes incomplete, stops the clock, and Georgia Tech gets stopped here, gets the ball back and scores. I mean, I have a hard time after I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. I was defending the ACC refs because the way that they're reviewing plays now and the way that they're broadcasting it made me feel better about how the ACC officiating crews were handling these games. It was more transparency. I thought that from what I had seen, they were making better calls. The SEC officiating crew is vague. They throw penalty flags like candy on Halloween, just out on the porch. Like it's terrible.
They would
It's
never
absolutely
show
terrible.
the replay booth or anything. Never.
Never, never. Greg Sankey would die on a hill before he let that happen. There were over 20 penalties in the Ole Miss LSU game for both teams. Over 20. It was horrible. Ole Miss, despite the fact that they had 100 penalty yards, won this game, but they absolutely could have lost because of the penalties. And some of them were obvious, and they didn't get called. Some of them were terrible calls, and they got called anyway. Some of them were obvious no calls, and or obvious calls that they should have made, and there was a no call. Like we had one play. I remember that there was a penalty called that was just horrible. Aaron Anderson on 3rd and like 5 ran an out route exactly on the sticks, and he's probably going to be slightly open here, but our DB plays it really well. Maybe a hand on the waist, but it didn't look like he was wrapping or grabbing. He reaches and swats, and immediately they throw a flag. They talk about it for like 15 seconds, and they call pass interference. And it extends LSU's drive. I don't really remember exactly what happened there because I feel like LSU wasn't doing anything offensively the whole game. But they would have stalled out and it would have been 3 and out again. And it wasn't because they made another play that extended another 3rd down for LSU. It felt like that was the whole game. Where Ole Miss started a drive and they put us in 1st and 20, or LSU was on 3rd down and they got a conversion via penalty. That was the whole game. And there's no transparency there. So I was really upset with the officiating there. And there are several other SEC games this year that have been really bad, Oklahoma Auburn being one of them. But I was talking about how the ACC refs were better. This game proved that they are not. Despite the transparency, they still suck. And you know what? When the press conferences roll around, Wake Forest head coach cannot say a thing about it because he'll get fined. And that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. They lose this game because of the referees. Sure, you can say, oh, they should have won the game making other plays. This game was stolen from them. It got stolen.
100%.
And I think that's ridiculous. As much as I wanted Georgia Tech to win this game and I picked them to make the playoffs, they should have lost. They should have lost outright to Wake Forest here. Should have been a big win for them. And I'm worried about Georgia Tech. I know they won this game. They found a way to win. All credit to them. But Wake Forest is definitely not on the same talent level as Georgia Tech. And they made this game close and should have won. So, gonna have to be watching for some other giant killers to take them down later in the season, even next week probably if they're not on bye. But this game was tough to watch for Georgia Tech. They had to claw back into this one. They were down bad early, and they clawed back in, and the refs let them have a win.
Didn't
So
it get? It was 17-0 Wake at one point.
yeah, I think it was like 20-3 too, and like,
Yeah.
it was. They had a 17-point lead there for a while, and somehow Georgia Tech wins this game. I haven't gotten to watch a lot of film on this, but when they got the opportunity, they scored. So they showed some composure and they showed clutch ability, but via the referees giving them the opportunity, I hate to see. So moving on to the next game, we missed on this one. USC at Illinois. I feel like this will be relatively close, but I thought USC was the better team, and I thought they would win. Defense didn't show up. Same conversation we had on the pod the other day. When's it going to happen? When is Lincoln Riley going to have a well coached defense that can actually make his team be competitive in huge games? And this was a huge game. We're expected to win this game. I know it was Big Noon kickoff, but they'd already slated that before Illinois had gotten blown out by Indiana. So they had to make it Big 12 or Big Noon. So yeah, it had some stakes and it was highly televised, but Illinois probably was definitely not the betting favorite in this game.
No, they were a touchdown underdog, even with it being at home.
Yeah, I need to see a scenario where Illinois put up the points they put up after how badly they played offensively against Indiana last week. But testament to Indiana and another testament to Illinois, the fact that they were able to battle back and get a ranked win. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of teams out there right now that would get blown out by 53 against a in-conference opponent, turn right back around and win a conference rate game. It just doesn't happen. So Luke Allmeyer played really well in this game. I liked what I saw from him. Jaden Miava played really well for USC. Um, I'm not taking any credit away from him. He played incredible. Makai Lemon is a stud. People who don't know who Makai Lemon is need to watch his film. He's probably one of the best receivers in college football right now. He's a stud. So more people need to hear his name. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not getting thrown around in the Heisman discussion. Maybe his stats aren't good enough, but I think he might be leading the nation in receiving. So maybe I need to take that back. But with that being said, he should have a conversation in the Heisman despite the fact that they have a loss right now. So he's incredible. USC's offense is really good and well rounded. They shouldn't have lost this game. I really think they should have won if they had a defense, but that's on Lincoln Riley to get the staff needed and to get the recruits necessary to field a full team and not just an offense. We've seen that from him time and time again now. Oklahoma and USC, it's a trend at this point. But yeah, I think we both missed on this one slightly. We picked USC by probably a touchdown to in between a touchdown and a field goal. Illinois gets the win, back on track to have a chance to still be relevant. So good for the Fighting Illini. Really interesting game. Notre Dame at Arkansas. I'm going to be brief on this. Sam Pittman just got fired because of how badly this game ended, but not just because of that, because they've struggled to just win football games in general. It's been coming for a while. Last season wasn't great. This season was not going to end well. I don't think it's a Sam Pittman problem necessarily. I think his style of coaching is just not going to work in Arkansas. But Arkansas is a tough job. When it was the SEC West, it was a tough job. Now that there's been conference realignment and there's no East West divisions, it's still really tough. We found out that despite the fact that the West was harder to play than the East, the conference scheduling is brutal.
Well, just throwing in Texas and Oklahoma, and those two great teams added to the schedule, it just makes it even that little bit harder.
Yeah, and I mean they Arkansas pulled some talent out of nowhere on this team and had a chance in the first two games that they lost. Fumbled them away, unfortunately. This team is competitive. But I think they lost all the juice and then had to play Notre Dame, who had to have a win here, emphatically have a win. Marcus Freeman was not letting off the gas in this game. They went for a fake punt in this game up like 4 touchdowns. If that doesn't tell you how badly Notre Dame wanted to blow out Arkansas, I don't know what does. So Notre Dame had blood on their mind in this game. They go into Fayetteville and absolutely trounce Arkansas. Taylor Green, I thought, started off okay and looked decent. I thought they were going to score points. I knew they were going to lose after the start I saw from Notre Dame's offense, but surely they would have scored points. But they just couldn't make it happen. They got too behind in this one. It just got away from them really fast. Notre Dame is really good. I know they lost 2 games, but both those games could have gone their way, and they'd be probably top 3 right now if they did. So having the same conversation about Notre Dame that we did about Auburn a minute ago, but I feel way better about Notre Dame than I do Auburn.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just the offense for Notre Dame has looked so incredible. If the defense can improve, like, this team could be really scary down the stretch.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play Notre Dame out of conference. I think that would be a really bad game to schedule. I don't like that. So credit to A&M for winning that game, despite the fact that it took them a 4th-and-goal heave to win it. They still won in South Bend. But tough game for Arkansas. Sad to see Sam Pittman go, just like Mike Gundy. I like Sam Pittman. He's been there for a couple of years. He's had some signature wins, and he had a 9-4 season. But Arkansas is just such a hard place to win at. And I look at it kind of like how I look at the Vanderbilt job. It takes a guy like Clark Lee to come into Vanderbilt and change the entire culture. You need a guy like that to come into Arkansas. I think John Summerall's the guy. I think you shoot for John Summerall to be the coach at Arkansas as soon as possible. I love that guy. I think he could change the culture there. Um, I think that he could recruit, and having an actual NIL budget better than he did at Tulane would probably help him a lot. So we'd love to see what he can do in the SEC. Like Lane Kiffin said, I have a very hard time seeing him not being in the SEC within the next year or two. So last game in our recap, Cincinnati at Kansas. I bet on this game. It cashed out. I put money on the Bearcats against Kansas here, and they did not disappoint. Brendan Sorsby threw the rock all over the place in Kansas, and despite the fact that Jalen Daniels had one of his best games of his career in this game, it wasn't enough. Emmanuel Henderson broke out into the scene for Kansas. Transfer wide receiver from Alabama goes for over 200. Still wasn't enough. Brendan Sorsby and Cincinnati make a statement win. Are they 3-1 or 4-1 right now?
I I think it's 3-1, but I could double check that real fast.
They had the close loss at Nebraska, which I thought they played decent in. Just couldn't get anything going offensively, but they've looked better each week that's gone by to me.
They're 3-1. Yeah.
So big game coming up for them against Iowa State, which we're about to get to, but I like what I'm seeing from them. I was definitely sleeping on them at the beginning of the season. I think I picked them to go like 5-7 or 6-6. I just didn't know what I was going to see from the offense, but they've gotten better.
Favorable schedule too. I mean, watch out.
Yeah, I think we looked at their schedule earlier. There's a scenario if they win this game where they could end up being 8-1 towards the end of the season and being in contention for the Big 12 title because they have no conference losses right now.
You heard that here first. If it
Yeah,
happens,
crazy take if that were to turn out. I'm not betting on that. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we will be having this conversation if they beat Iowa State next week for sure. So, incredible game. It was a shootout. Cincinnati comes out on top. Very fun game to watch. I recommend giving it a look, at least watching the highlights because it was crazy.